Good evening. Happy Thursday. Welcome to episode 23. I Need a Session. I'm your host, Kim Wilson. Boy, oh boy, do we have a wonderful show lined up for you today. I'm so excited. We're discussing women empowerment. Yes. I love to see women supporting other women. For me, support is love. So, I was talking to one of my colleagues today and I said, I was just casually telling her I was preparing for the show tonight. She asked me what I was doing. And I told her I am doing women empowerment. And she said, "Oh, girl, I got you." She just so happened to be a college professor and she's sent out a couple of questions for me. And some came back. And then some of my friends sent me questions. So tonight we are loaded. It was a matter of me doing eeny, meeny, mighty, mo. One of the reasons why I'm doing this topic tonight. Hi, Tamika. Thank you for joining. One of the reasons why I'm doing this topic is I am having a luncheon on October the 16th. It's for women of all ages. I want to see my 20-year-olds in the house, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. I want to see some of my teenagers in the house because it's important for that young girl to know how to love another woman. My mother was the first woman to ever love me. And I must say, she did a wonderful job of doing that because she did a wonderful job of loving me, making me feel empowered. It's not a hard stretch for me to support and empower another woman. I can't tell you how many times I hear stories from women who may come through my practice seeking services or just somebody casually talking to me who have a failed relationship with another woman. And whenever a friendship or something like that breaks down with another woman, it's not a good feeling. And that's just me being transparent coming from a personal place. Yeah, I yes, I know what it feels like to have a relationship break down. So, when I have this event on October the 16th, it's just another resource for women to say, you know what? This is how we can press the reset button, or this is how I can help you level up. This is how I can love you. Or even if I feel like as a woman, I didn't receive that from my mother, my sisters, my cousins, or I didn't have many friendships. When you come to this event, I feel confident that you will walk away knowing another woman. You can even be mentored by somebody from a distance. You don't have to necessarily have a phone conversation with somebody or have lunch to learn from them. Like my guest, my keynote speaker April Ross, when I learned of her first from reading a little blurb that went across the screen, and I said, I want to know her. And if I would have had negative thoughts in my mind, like, oh, she's busy, she doesn't want to talk to me. No, my job is to simply ask. And that's what I did. And I tell you, she is so humble and sweet. She answered my calls. She called me back and she became a guest on my show. And I feel like I've known her forever. So sometimes it just starts with the ask. So I know you guys are ready. Kimmie, come with the questions, Kimmie. Here I come. Let's see. Let's see what the first question is. All right. Okay, so here's the first question. Who? How do I tell a friend of almost 40 years that I don't agree with some of the things she does and her behavior when it comes to men? But first of all, hold on. There's something I'm not liking about this gloss. There's no way that I'm going to watch this episode back and then say, well, wait a minute, what is that in the corner, Kim? Let's get that right now. So let's read that question over. How do I tell a friend of almost 40 years that I don't agree with some of the things she does and her behavior when it comes to men? Wow, so this is a long-term friendship. Wow. Well, I think you stand in your truth with anything. So that there's a couple of things there because what I've learned as friendships, as they mature, you don't always have to share everything because you don't want it to come off as judgment. Just because you feel a certain way about her behaviors, that's just the way you feel. That doesn't mean she has to change it. So yeah, it's one On one hand, yes, you can stand in the truth. On the other hand, I highly recommend a friendship of 40 years. You pick up the tool of acceptance and accept the fact that she get to choose how she interact with men, how she chooses her relationships. When we are younger, when we are in our 20s, we are very opinionated with our friends. Let me just hold up my right hand and say, yes, I was one of those friends that was very opinionated. And I had to learn throughout the years, like, wait a minute, what my friends needed from me at the age of 20, they don't need that from me at the age of 40. So some of the um unsolicited advice I may have offered at 20, they're not exactly checking for that in a 20-year relationship. Now, this is a 40-year relationship. And I just want to even check to make sure I got that right. How do I tell a friend of almost 40 years that I don't agree with some of the things she does in her behavior when it comes to men? No, you know what? That's just how you feel about it. And if you all have a comment about that, go ahead and drop that in the chat. So, my perspective on that is create a non-judgmental zone. She gets to rock and roll the way she wants to. What does that? You don't have to agree or disagree. She's grown. All right, here's another one. How do I overcome fears that have been imposed upon me from my mom and aunt since I was a kid? Oh, wow, I love that. Well, let me just read that one more time. How do I overcome fears that have been imposed upon me from my mom and aunt since I was a kid? I want to go ahead and place a circle around fears because that's where the starting point is, understanding that it is a fear. That fear is connected to a thought. Thoughts become things. It doesn't have to be a fear. So the fact that you are self-aware and you understand that this fear has been imposed upon you from your mother and your aunt, you have the power to change that, to push past that feeling anyway, and understanding that it's just a fear. I love that acronym for fear. False evidence appearing real. That's just what it is. I say live your life, stand in your truth, do what you want to do, push past that fear, do it anyway, and know that all is well. If it's in your heart to do it, live for you and not for the other person, because once you start living for other people, it sets up this room for regret, resentment, those negative emotions sitting inside of the heart. Yeah. All right. Let's see what the next question is. How would one go about ending a long-term friendship or addressing how they've grown apart over the years? Oh, let me read that one again. How would one go about ending a long-term friendship or addressing how they've grown apart over the years? So let me take my time with this one because we can take a couple of perspectives on this. So you don't have to grow apart. I think when two people, any relationship can work once you say that it's going to work and you get to lean into one another, you get to grow into one another. And I kind of actually learned that through a client. I was working with someone and uh, the relationship dynamics with her friend had changed. And my perspective was you get to love people from a distance. And she was like, no, 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 no. She is going to be here. She truly saw her as a sister. And I thought, wow. And that created a shift for me because when we say we love people and we say, oh, you're like my sister, do we really mean that? Because I know for me, for my sister, we're going to figure it out. I don't care what it is. We're going to get that figured out. There's no such thing as my sister and I, we're just not going to talk for 3 years. No, no, no. We're going to get that figured out. And I value that relationship. And if I see a friendship that way, why aren't we figuring it out? Why aren't we leaning in and growing into one another? Now, I think there's some room to stand in your truth. Sometimes you just don't want to be friends with someone anymore. And that's okay. You get to let go of that friendship. I wish we could, in a perfect world, be able to unfriend somebody instead of just dodging and ignoring them and not answering phone calls, returning text messages, and participating in avoidant behavior. However, everybody is not at that emotional capacity where they can respond that way. So, how do you tell them? and and thinking about the part too, like I said, that person may not be ready to receive that information. So if you decide that you're going to be honest with a person like that, be ready for their reaction. Their reaction may not be what you are expecting either. But I feel like anytime we can have an honest conversation with somebody, I know when it comes to partners, we love to have that closure. Can we just talk one more time? I know you broke my heart. Can we just be friends? But with our girlfriends, it's like, okay, well, I was offended by the comment you made about my dress. And I just don't think I want to be friends anymore. So we can be offended like over, but you don't have to grow apart. I think when two, like I said, two people can make the decision to grow into one another. So Tamika, you said, what is the question of an empowered? What are the qualities of an empowered woman? Hey, great question, Tamika. I love it. What are the qualities of an empowered woman? Self-love. She's confident. She's walking into the room, chin up, shoulders back. She's using communication as one of her best tools. Communication is the most used tools in life. We're either going to use our communication as a tool or a weapon. Being able to lean in and listen with empathy and understanding. Being able to create a non-judgmental zone, being able to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, I think a lot of times when we use the word empowered women, for women who may have a passive communication style or passive aggressive communication style, we're thinking about this strong woman who has it all together. She walks into the room, her hair is done, her makeup is done, she has her nails done. Those are accessories. But what makes an empowered woman truly empowered is what's going on in this mind and what's in this heart. And love is the ultimate trait, the ultimate tool, being able to not only love herself, but love others, and being able to say, well done, sis. I thank you, sis. I support you, sis. That's what an empowered woman looks like. And just to kind of go and take the beginning of that word off and go to what we think of as powerful women. And the other word that I hear too associated with empowered women, people will say, oh, she's so strong. And that's almost this message under that. It's like, oh, you're much stronger than me, because they see something in that strong woman that they don't see in themselves. But really what that is, I think most of the time, is confidence. Confidence is the best thing that you can wear as a human being. Chin up, shoulders back, not judging yourself. A lot of times we are participating in self-judgment and self-blame. When we start judging ourselves, we think other people are judging us. And really, that's not what's going on. We've already created a narrative in our head before we walked into the room, we walked into the relationship, and it's really, we got in our own way. So let's see what else we have here. Okay. Why do female friends tend to be jealous or envious of one another? I knew this question was coming. That goes back to what I was just explaining. Jealousy and envy. When somebody has something that you don't have, you want what they have. That's jealousy and envy. And one of the things that by the time we look at somebody's material items and we want that, really, I say remove the material items. Think about what it took to get that. So I used to hear this saying a lot: it's lonely at the top. It does not have to be lonely at the top. You want to know why it's lonely at the top for successful people sometimes? Because a lot of people do not want to operate in excellence and do what that person did to have what they have. And they become jealous of these material things. But I say, you know what? Put that to the side. Look at what it took. You may know her glory, but do you really know that woman's story? Yes. And a lot of times when women experience jealousy and envy, there is self-judgment and self-blame. People really can walk around feeling upset with themselves. They upset about stuff 15 years ago. It's like, man, I made a mistake. They're using words like, how could I have been so stupid? It's this negative self-talk that's going on. And when we don't get that straightened out, it can trigger those feelings of jealousy and envy when we see somebody doing what we are not doing. And I always try to remind people, listen, everybody will get to their destination at their own time. And somebody who's sitting inside of jealousy and envy, they've forgotten about that. You know, think about it like this. If we're on the expressway in this rush hour traffic, the expressway, it is filled with cars. You got thousands of cars, but somehow every single that traffic seems to be cleared up by 10 a.m. and everybody seems to get to their destination. Your exit will come up. It will be your time. You just keep moving. And a person sitting inside of jealousy and envy, they're focusing on somebody else. And when you are driving on the road, if you spend your time looking at what everybody else is doing instead of keeping your eyes on the road, you're going to crash and you're going to run into somebody. And that's how I see jealousy and envy, as the crash, as the bumping into somebody, because they started focusing on everybody else, what they are doing, instead of focusing on their process and their solution. All right. Let's see what the next one is. Hold on. Why can't females celebrate each other? Well, I believe they can celebrate each other. And let me just say, there are a lot of organizations and efforts and initiatives where women are celebrating each other. And that's certainly my intention for October the 16th, to create this space where women can celebrate one another. We got a keynote speaker. We got a person doing a inspirational dance. We have somebody doing a poem. We have a wonderful lunch planned for you. And all of this is meant to celebrate her, for you to remember to celebrate yourself. How do we do that? You know what? There are a lot of people who receive certificates and awards and stuff like that. And I ask them, hey, where's your certificate? Where's that diploma that you got? Where's the degree that you received? Girl, it's in the closet somewhere. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. You got to remind yourself, anytime somebody gives me an award or certificate or anything, honey, it's going on the wall, honey. It's getting framed. I cherish that, because that's how Kim stays at chin up, shoulders back. I have to remember my footsteps. I want to remember my journey. And, so sometimes that's how we have to remember to celebrate ourselves. Job well done. You tried today. It's just one step at a time. All right. Let's see what else we have. Okay. Is it possible to stop being friends with somebody that started dating your ex-boyfriend? I knew that. Whoa, wait a minute now. Hold on. Well, in my world, yes. I mean, X is there for a reason. I don't have any personal attachments. And listen, I understand that I'm speaking from the mind of a married person. I feel like, honestly, even if I wasn't married, this would still be my answer. It is done. That relationship is complete. I have no ties to him. That person gets to choose whomever they want. So because they are dating somebody that I used to date, in my world is not breaking any type of friendship code. I wish them well. That goes back to the question the person asked before, celebrating, being able to celebrate another woman. I should be able to celebrate that she found somebody that's worthy. I mean, for me, if I spent my time dating him, he was worthy. I didn't spend a lot of time dating people who were not willing to celebrate me. I didn't spend a lot of time doing that. So I would wish them well. So I see here's a question. What's one of your favorite self-care tools? Love. I speak love all day long, because love never fails. It always wins. Sometimes love may look like telling you the truth. Sometimes love may look like knowing when to be silent, loving you enough to stand back. Love may look like uh, encouragement. Love may look like listening to you 2 hours on the phone while you share your feelings and your thoughts, and we go through it. And you know that I am there, and you know that you are not alone. I'm glad you mentioned you used the word tools, because at my event on October the 16th, each woman will walk away with a toolbox, and in that toolbox will help her not only with the relationship with herself, the relationship with other women. I'm always talking about tools, resources, and strategies. That's what it's going to take to build healthy relationships. The relationship with yourself is the most important relationship. Before we can have an amazing relationship with another woman, it got to start with us. And what that relationship looks like is a overall positive self concept, elevated self esteem, self confidence, self worth. You have to know your worth. And when we walk into the room with all those um, characteristics together, we have a solid relationship with ourselves. So I'm not threatened by another person's success. I'm not threatened by her beauty. I'm not threatened by any other relationships that she has with somebody else, because I've learned to celebrate me, and I will not have an issue with celebrating her. So let me see if I'm missing a question right here. Okay. Yeah, so I think we got time. Let me do one more. And if anybody want to pop their question up on the screen, you can go and do that. Let me do one more. Oh, okay. Wow. So I'm not gonna call your name. From Instagram, you sent me a DM. Um, go to, if you're the person from, I'm getting ready to read your question, you'll know who you are. Go to my website and email me. Okay. So here's the question. I haven't spoken to my mom in 3 years. I always felt like she never loved me. How do you love somebody who always seemed like they hated you? So that's pretty tough. Um, like I said, my mother was the first person to love me, and I know that's not a good feeling. But let me just go ahead and tell you this: hurt people hurt other people. What I would say to you is, I'm not sure how much of your mother's story you know. I would get curious about your mom's story to find out who she is as a human being, who she is as a woman. Find out who she was at 8 years old, who she was at the age of 15. If you can kind of pull the curtains back on her life to look at her experience, because her experiences, her behaviors, all of that is connected to her self identity. And what that's going to do for you is to make sure you don't keep that, you don't repeat that relationship with your daughters, if you have daughters, or even your son. So you want to make sure that you don't go into any type of cycle. I'm not sure how old you are, but I would get curious. And if your mom has siblings or cousins that may know a little bit more about her, I recommend just gently entering into a conversation and do some research with great information. And that's with anything in life. With great information, we can make great decisions. Yeah, I'm very passionate about the mother daughter relationship. And it's not uncommon when women have difficult relationships with their mother. They may have difficult relationships with other women because the first person, that trust was broken in that first female related relationship. I'm supposed to trust you to love me, to treat me well. But instead, my experience with you was you abused me emotionally, physically. um I had a hurtful relationship with you. And so when that's the relationship with the first woman you met, it certainly can impact your relationship with other women. But when we pick up the tool of self-awareness, it helps us to do that different, because what can happen is it can set up what we call thought distortions, cognitive distortions. That's just a fancy word for negative thinking. And we can actually think, we can start overthinking and overgeneralizing and make assumptions that somebody is trying to hurt us when they're really trying to help us. It's almost like our lenses have become flawed, if that makes sense. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I thank you all so much for joining me. You could have been anywhere in this world, but you chose to rock and roll with me, Kim Wilson. If you are a man watching this, you can certainly purchase a ticket for your mother, your cousin, your sister. If you say, hey, Kim, I want to sponsor 5 tickets, you can go ahead and do that. Just simply go to my website, www.kimwilsonspeaks.com. This event is called Becoming Us. Us stands for United Sister. Yes, united we stand. Every human being passes through the body of a woman. We got to get that relationship right. All right. I see you next Thursday. If anybody hasn't told you, let me be the first to tell you, you are amazing. See you next week.